guys, Ross out there here in Singapore. You're listening to the Night Owl podcast, and oops, I still have my my ringer on. Anyway, so I'm on here. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about something that I've been contemplating lately. For those of you who are in new relationships or in old relationships, even just trying to test the friendship or needing to talk to someone and not knowing if it's the right time, trying to make space for them to be, in a good emotional space to be able to deal with you as well, not knowing all of those things. Like now, when you talk about feelings, people are very concerned about, whether you're taking their feelings into consideration or not. It's something to the effect of, are you asking people, are you in a good place right now to be able to listen to something that I have to talk about? But even then, that can be intimidating for you to actually have to sit there and tell somebody, hey, I'm in a bad place. I need someone to talk to. Are you in a good space to be able to deal with me? And then happen to wait for an answer that might come back as a no is kind of intimidating and daunting. So most people would rather just choke it down and pretend that it doesn't exist in the first place. So that's what I want to talk to you about today, because I really wonder about when we talk to our friends and when we consider them to be fair weather friends versus people that are going to be ride or die for us, right? But in order for someone to be ride or die for you, you need to be able to let them in. You need to let them know when you're in trouble, when you're having a difficult time with things. You need to be able to put them in a position to choose whether to stand by your side or leave. And being able to put someone there in that space is not the easiest of tasks. For those of us who have been through some things, and that's pretty much all of us, it depends on if it's big or small to you, whatever the case may be. If you've been through something, to put somebody in a position to be able to say no to you is very, very daunting. And a lot of times you don't understand who people are until you say no to them. I've had plenty of people that are great. They're just adorable, great, fun people. And the minute that they ask you for something and you say, no, I can't, suddenly they don't regard you the same. They don't, listen to what you have to say, keep you in mind. They don't check up on you anymore. They kind of like, it changes. They move on with their lives because suddenly you said no and you've basically downgraded yourself in their eyes. A lot of times when we actually open ourselves up to being vulnerable with somebody and letting them know, hey, this hurt me in the past, I don't want you to do this again, you give them the opportunity to know you at a different level. That also means that hopefully if they're paying attention, hopefully if they take you seriously, they'll be able to see it coming a mile away before you have to ask for help. They'll know what your baseline is. They'll know what normal is for you. What is your normal body temperature? What is your basal body temperature on any given day? They should know those kinds of behaviors, right? If you're always a bubbly kind of person, you're the kind of person that says good morning every morning by a certain time, they know your schedule kind of, or your routine kind of. They should know when something's off, when you don't respond by a certain time, when you don't, check in on them or write to them or do any of those things by a certain time. They should know. The other case being that, maybe you're in a new friendship and you're not sure whether you can share all the things you want to share with them because you feel close to them, but you're not sure if they feel the same kind of closeness. Like, what do you do in those situations? Do you venture forth and say something anyway? Or do you hold it all back and, then wonder why you don't have anyone close to you? So I'm guilty of not actually letting people in because I'm afraid of them rejecting me, or I'm afraid of them not actually showing up when I need them to. Why? Because it's my nervous system's way of keeping me safe. It generalizes all of my trauma. Basically, it's the reason we say, we have one run in with a specific kind of person, and then all those people with those kinds of traits. Maybe it's a brunette, maybe, brunette girls are always like this, or redhead girls are always like that, or blondes. People be talking about blondes. You know what I mean? But it's my nervous system that is generalizing everything to keep me safe, because it's under the impression that if they can predict the future for me, and the only way they can predict is based on all of my past experiences, that they'll be able to keep me safe. My nervous system is hoping to keep me safe. If you run into somebody who speaks a specific way, or maybe they look at you a specific kind of way, and you've had someone in the past somewhere along the line look at you that same way, and it ended badly, you're going to assume that this new person has the same intentions. Not necessarily, obviously, but you're going to assume that this new person has the same intentions, and you're going to treat them the same way you treated the other person in order to protect yourself. But that's not how new relationships need to work. This is how people talk about, you can't bring the bricks from your old relationship into the new one, you end up building the same house. I totally get it. But how do you break that pattern? How do you fight your own nervous system and all of the anxiety and the overwhelm, the overthinking, the overanalysis, the panic attacks that happen sometimes, the neuroses that come with the territory, where you're afraid, generally, like literally afraid for your life to open up to someone, because what if it ends up the same way it always does? And yeah, I generalized again. I said always, right? It's not always the case. Every new person has their own set of base behaviors, their own set of experiences, their own set of expectations. And the only way you get to know if this person is the same as the last is through tons of conversation, which, us, we don't have time for that shit no more. I mean, back in the day, you used to have a phone in the house and people would call you after like 8 p.m. or whatever because the minutes were free, and you'd sit on the phone all day long while people yell at you because you're tying up the phone line. This is before cell phones, obviously. So for those of you who don't know what it feels like to slam a phone down, I'm telling you, look, we used to sit on the phone and talk for hours at a time. Nowadays, you can talk to everybody all day, every day, text them all day, every day, and in a couple of weeks, it could mean nothing. Still, they could ghost you. Still, why? Because they lost interest. Maybe you said no to them. Maybe they found someone else to speak to that gave them the attention that they've been seeking or whatever. There's always that chance. With social media, there's always that chance. So what do? Most of us, in response to some of the experiences we've had in the past, some of us afraid to even try it again because we're tired of starting over, would rather not even venture that far. So we use things like Twitter, where we just, randomly talk about what bothers us, hoping that someone picks up on it, but then we don't want people to identify too much because we don't want people to think that we have a mental condition of any sort. So it's very, very strange, and I don't understand why people do this. I have some trouble with this same aspect, but the point being that you can't judge people and say that they're fair weather friends unless you really let them in. And if you really let them in, I'm telling you, you should let them in from the beginning so it's not hard to change precedent all of a sudden. I've had plenty of people that are really great with each other. They do the best they can for each other. They're, through good times, they share with each other. They're just great friends. And it's not until like maybe a year down the road where something really big happens and you really need that friend, all of a sudden you ask them for help, and either they show up or they don't. You're suddenly in this vulnerable place where they can say yes or they can say no. And that is their prerogative. It's a reflection of them and what they are capable of doing at that time. But what do? We take it personally. We tend to rationalize why they don't like us enough to do what we're asking them to do. We rationalize or justify how we've helped them so much and they can't do this one thing. It can be any of those situations, you guys. But I'm telling you, the faster you open up, the faster you say no, the faster you be who you are with the persons that you are trying to build friendships and relationships with, the faster you find out who your ride or die are. That's the bottom line here. The faster you find out who's down for you and who's not, who's got your back and who's not, who's watching your six and who's not. But we're too afraid to be vulnerable. We're too afraid to let people know that we're afraid, we're hurting, we're worried. We want to share good news. Absolutely. Who doesn't want to celebrate good news with you? I mean, some people be celebrating and they don't really mean it. But the point being, yeah, of course, they'll show support. But the minute you tell them they need to support your new business, suddenly things change. The minute that, your time comes at a limit of some sort, or your help is limited by money or something to that effect, that's when you find out who your real friends are. But why wait until you have to ask them for something? Why not be who you are way back in the beginning so you can eliminate people as they come along, so you don't have to wait for those moments where, you're really in need of some help and you don't know who to turn to, and you turn to people and they're not ready to be there for you. So this is the thing that I've been thinking about lately. I want people that are going to be there in good times and in bad. I want people who are going to be there because they enjoy being around me, not because of who I am, who I know, what I can do for you, how much I can help, what kind of counseling I can give you for free because I'm a friend. None of that. I want you to be around because you like who I am, genuinely. I want us to take care of each other because that's what friends do. That's what family does. That's who we're supposed to be as humans. None of this every man for himself bullshit. And it doesn't have to be like the Three Musketeers either. It doesn't have to be all for one and one for all. But I'm saying, why can't we help each other move forward? And in order to help each other, we need to be vulnerable. You need to know what I'm about. I need to know what you're about. which means if you don't know about me, you need to be asking questions. If you ask questions, you're showing me that you're interested, which means at some point, if I need to tell you something, I know where you're coming from with that stuff. For you to know that I trust you, you need to know that I'm going to open up to you. This is why when most people tell somebody a secret, the other person's going to turn around, right around and tell them a secret too. So you know, it's a mutually trusting process. I'm open up to you and you're going to open up to me. This is why I chose to be a coach and not a counselor. I mean, a coach and not a therapist. Because as a coach, I can tell you a little bit about my past. There's no breach there. There's no overstepping of boundaries there. I can tell you, look, I've been through some shit. I've been through divorce. I've been through broken engagements. I've been through a situation where my ex-husband actually sold my tali. He pawned it because he needed money, or so he said. This is a man who used to bring in $10,000 checks a month, okay? I've been through pregnancies where no one was happy for me. It's the most miserable feeling in the world. I've been through situations where I was forced to get rid of my child because I was afraid that I was going to be kicked out of the house and homeless. And I had been alienated from my family, so I didn't know what I was going to do next. I've been in situations where I've been homeless. I have been evicted. I have had my car repossessed. I've been up to my eyeballs in debt. I've done it all. I've been at a checkout counter with over $200 worth of groceries in my cart and my check bounced. Yeah, back when we had checks. I've been through some shit. I had a cancer scare when I was 22. I was shamed in public for eating funny because I just had all 4 wisdom teeth taken out. Yeah, I'm that chick. I've been through some stuff. I clawed my way out of that darkness. And when I tell you, like, I really do study the darkness, I really do feel these things, it's because I've really walked through all of that. It was my own themedy. And I'm proud. I'm proud that I walked through all of that on my own. You see, I had a counselor in several different occasions in my life. And I told them everything I had to say, and I told them everything that I understood from the situation. And they told me that, well, shit, I'm self-aware. What do I need the therapist for? You know what happened. You understand what's going on. Yeah, but it still hurts. So how do I stop it from hurting? And that's something they couldn't help me with. I needed to know I wasn't alone. I needed to know that there were other people out there that lived through some of this stuff. I needed a support network. That's why I chose to be a coach, because that was the help I needed at the time, and I couldn't find one back then. It's the reason I was a resident instructor of 108 girls. It's the reason I took over as a residence assistant while I was still in school. It's the reason I taught PE in high school. I taught 6th, 7th, and 8th grade PE while I was in 11th and 12th grade. I wanted to be around other people. I wanted to help wherever I could. I wanted to give back every chance I got, because that is the human thing to do. Yeah, I know people making fun of NTUC and all these people that ran off in a Wuhan craziness to, clear the shelves of toilet paper and noodles. That's not really good nutrition, but hey, that's you. But since when do we only take care of ourselves? Why isn't it still the fact that it takes a village to raise a child? I understand you're worried, you're scared, you're thinking you're going to have to be stuck in the house for a while and you better have enough food. Well, guess what? Some people wait on their paycheck. Some people are scared that they won't have enough to be able to feed their kids by the end of the month. Some people live week to week, y'all. I've been there. I've lived week to week. I've survived on $10 for a week. Why? Because I learned a long time ago how to cook. And honestly, vegetables are cheap, and they will feed me for a while. In order for me to have good, solid relationships, good, solid friendships, I need to be able to open up and ask for help and tell people exactly where I really am in life. Which means once I say it out loud, I have to be okay with whatever happens next, because I was choosing to be vulnerable. I was choosing to see who's going to stand by my side and who's going to use me. I give my time freely. Why? Because I want to make sure that people know that I really am there. When I say I'm going to be there for you, I'm going to be there for you. I am not a fair weather friend. I'm here for the long haul. I'm the girl you call into battle with you. We fight side by side. Most likely back to back, so we make sure that we are all taken care of. But the point being that I'm going to be there. I'm the one you call into battle with you. Because that is what a coach does. Yeah, he yells from the sidelines during the game. And yeah, he gives a hell of a pep talk at halftime. But throughout every practice, all through the season, he stands by your side. He checks in on you. He makes sure you've got your grades straight and your mind right in order to be able to get practice done. Because championships are won in practice, not during game time. And if your mind isn't right and your life isn't straight, you don't have a handle on things during practice, it doesn't matter if you get to the game or not. So please, vulnerability is terrifying. But without it, you only have fair weather friends. Without it, you only have shallow relationships. We got enough of that on social media, y'all. We have people that write to us all day long on social media, thinking, like, acting like they're really good friends of yours. But how many of them can you call and say, hey, my dog died, and I feel some kind of way, and I would love to have some company? How many of y'all can say that to any of those people on social media? How many of y'all can say, you know what? I don't want to be at the house, and I don't want to be at work. I don't feel like myself. Do you mind if I come over and just hang out at the house with you? How many of y'all can say that? How many of y'all have somebody on your phone that you can call out to like that? And that's what I want to make sure y'all have. So please, get used to being vulnerable. Get used to opening up to people. And it's the only way to build real relationships. It's the only way to fix marriages and mend families. You gotta open up. And if you need help with that, you know where to find me. This is all I do is teach. I teach people how to know themselves so well that when it comes to telling other people who they are, they have no problems communicating. All right, y'all. I'm going to call it a night. I hope this made sense. You got any questions, drop them in the comments below. And in the meantime, take care of you. I'll catch you soon. Bye.